So we're getting in the opening shot. Alright guys, yeah, welcome. This video is going to be hopefully aimed more at the beginner. You've maybe just picked up your first retro mountain bike and you want to service it, and I'm going to try and talk you through that process today, on what to do, what to look for. So yeah, enjoy. 12 will be floating around, so maybe you'll catch her as well. Let's start the tyres. Firstly, pump them up, see if they stay inflated. You know, a lot of the times these bikes have been tucked away, forgotten about, maybe they've had a puncture, and they've just been relegated to the garage. So give the tyres a pump up so you can properly inspect the tyres. Now, as you might be able to see, this is actually one of the sort of originals, the Tioga Wonder Dog. So it's best to give the tyre a good look over first. These sidewalls, especially on the old skin walls, will tend to dry out and crack. So give the wheel a good spin round and just check it out. This one surprisingly looks in good condition, but they can be misleading. These old tyres can look good, but then fall apart after a few rides, so it might be worth erring on the side of caution with these. However, this one looks, you know, actually fairly good, so I am gonna keep this one on here, and the tube is inflated, so it doesn't really need any attention here, which is good. You'll be able to tell if it is split. These, where am I looking? You'll see the strands, the ply in these sidewalls, they'll start to fray. And also look for any cracks. If it's just in the black rubber, there'll be cracks. And yeah, it's always best to replace those. The tyres aren't expensive. Now this has had a V-brake put on there, which isn't really aligned properly. But obviously check the condition of your pads, see if you're going to need to order some more pads. These have got a bit of life left in them. Obviously where this shoulder is here is where the limit is, but I'm going to be changing them anyway. Pads can, you know, range from a couple of quid to, you know, £30 upwards. So yeah, choose what you want and go from there. It's also a good chance to, at this point, spin the wheel and see how true it is. And this one looks to be fairly good. This pad is obviously not moving, so you can just watch the gap between the rim and the pad itself and see how true the old wheel is. And this original wheel from what, 91, 92 is actually looking pretty good. Now with the bike down on the ground, you might want to give the wheels a little bit of a wobble. If you just grab them, hold the bike steady and wobble them from side to side, you'll be able to see if there's any play in the hub, and this is fine. I can't feel any knocking, there is no play there. You can also test out the headset, see if there's any play there. So if you hold the front brake on and give it a little wobble, this one definitely has play in the headset, but you'll be able to feel the whole system here move. So I can feel that headset is just rocking away. So hopefully the headset is alright, and it just needs a bit of servicing, bit of tightening up. Now I'm going to say here, it's going to be a given that you're going to change the inner cables. They're not expensive. You can, you know, bulk buy cables and get them for as low as 50p, or, you know, one cable might cost you £1 upwards if you're going to get Teflon coated. So inner cables we're going to replace regardless. Outer cables, you might not want to replace them. So just give them a good check over, have a look round, see if there's any frays, any splits. These ones have actually again looking pretty decent. You will find on old cables they split in places, especially where they're rubbing on the frame, but these ones actually all seem in very good condition. This bike has been stored pretty well. Another thing to look at before going through the whole bike, or going through the post service in it, is do the shifters work, and do you need to place the grips? These grips look okay. There is a little notch out of them here, where obviously something has been pressed into it, but there's no tears. There's still some, you know, decent padding in for the age. These are the original Tioga grips, so you could get away with keeping these on, and obviously if you want to replace them, you can go ahead and replace them. They're not hard. These ones, just if you want to destroy them, just cut them off, stick a new grip on, and if you don't, just leave them. Shifters, however, can be obviously a pain. If they are sticky and seized, a squirt of, you know, brake cleaner can get things moving again. But we can just cycle through and watch them change gear, and these ones are actually okay. Yep, those ones flick through the gears no problem. Now, one of the main sticking points for these old bikes can be the seat post. I know this one's fine because I've already had it out, so just check it. Does it move? Does it adjust? Yes, it does. And while you're here, give your saddle a once over. This is, again, I don't know how it's possible, but the original saddle, there is a tiny scuff there in the fabric, but it's faded, but condition wise it's extremely good. Now, down at the front business end, what you can do, I mean, this is a loose bottom bracket, so we can service this, but if it is a cartridge, what you can do is grab the opposing arms and give them a wobble side to side with the frame held, and you should be able to feel any play if you're pushing them in opposing directions. This one doesn't have any play whatsoever, but we can still service this one, so I'll go on to that later. If it is a cartridge, you can just replace it. While we're also down here, you can do the same to the pedals. Just give them a once over. Straps are in good condition, cages are in good, clips are in good condition, and if you just hold the pedal and just wobble it backwards and forwards, on this one there is a tiny bit of play. You can feel it just moving around the axle. Unfortunately, this is a very difficult pedal to service. It is the original Deore LX, which means it technically is serviceable. There is a cap on the end to service it, but the cage isn't removable, so you need special tools or something to get in there, which I have not been able to do just yet. Again, while we're down here, give your chain rings a once over. These rings are getting a little bit more difficult to replace. 110, I think these are 110 BCD on these outer rings. Inner ring is a bit smaller, but just go round, just give them a little once over. These aren't looking too bad. There's a few worn down teeth there. These Biopace? No, this one isn't actually Biopace. Sometimes you find on the Biopace rings they've been wrongly set up and there's a set of teeth that are worn. Also look for shark toothing, which will be able to show you how worn the system is. But these ones don't look too bad. Yeah. Okay, chain. Now, I can tell you just by looking at this chain, it needs replacing. You can see the sag in it. It is stretched. It is no longer keeping everything taut, so it's just going to be getting a lot of chain slap. It's not going to be working efficiently. If you do want to check stuff and it's a worthwhile investment, get a chain checker. You don't have to get this fancy one. You can get ones that just slot in, like this one. This is Nextool's one. You can just pop them in. Which one we're going for? Yeah. There'll be different measurements on there. So we've got a 0.75 where you should really replace it, and a 1 which it definitely needs replacing. And once that is hooked in there, it falls in. So this chain needs replacing. And I can even double check it on this chain checker. I can push that one all the way through, so that has easily gone all the way through, and there's still a little bit of play in there, which in the window it's very difficult to see there, but it does go all the way to 1. And yeah, that chain is no good, which unfortunately would mean that the cassette should also be replaced. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be, bear that in mind. But you might have a bit of issues getting a new chain to mesh with the old cassette. And finally, the final observation is you have to get your supervisor just to check over the Jockey wheels, which are these wheels just here. She obviously doesn't want to do a job, but just have a look at them. If the system has been extremely worn, these will be pointy as anything, but they can easily be replaced. Triple B roller boys make some good pulleys that you can replace those with, and they're about, I don't know, 15 to 20 pounds. But these ones look good. However, everything needs a massive clean, so I think we're going to strip it down and give everything a clean up.